Hi everyone, Commissioner McFeeds here, trying something new with my content this season. Instead of doing written pieces, we're going to be doing podcast, video, essay kind of stuff for a couple reasons. A, I think it's easier for me to just yap at a microphone than it is for me to write 20 pages of stuff. And B, I know some people like Chris can't read and need something to listen to while losing games in solo queue. So we have our first podcast today. It's the pre-draft episode, and with me I have two guests, CocoPuffsOrNah.
What's up, guys? It's my third season now in the PDL. Happy to be here and make some content. I'm a notorious semifinals choker to Mr. Gamagate, one of the other veteran PDL members you guys may know or may meet this season. And yeah, I really love Pokemon. I've been playing it since I was a kid, and I'm happy to be on the staff this year.
And we have other staff member Thunder.
Hey guys, I'm Thunder and I've been playing for 7 seasons, so since season 2, and I also lose to Gamagate in the first round multiple times in playoffs, but we still do what we can to win.
All right, so for this episode, we got a couple things we want to go over. Mainly, it's just draft stuff, as this is the pre-draft podcast. Take everything we say with a grain of salt. We're extremely opinionated and just pick whatever we think feels good. So we're gonna go over what we think are some of the kind of no-brainer first-round draft picks, along with some spicier ones. What we think are some of the most underrated Pokemon in the format, some of the most overrated Pokemon in the format. Do a little bit of a ranking for each generation at why we think, this gen's strong, this gen's weak. Talk about the groups a little bit, and then just give a little bit of advice to new coaches. Is there anything you guys want to add?
Yeah, no, I think that's it.
Yep.
All right, cool. Let's get started with what we think our first round draft pick should be. So we have this nice, neat little table here, kind of showing what everybody thinks. We all submitted these without talking to each other initially, and there were 4 Pokemon on every single one of our submissions. We all said Fluttermane, Qianpao, Chiyu, and Urshifu Rapid Strike should be picked in the first round. Do you
Yeah,
Yeah,
got
I mean,
the big four.
Yeah, do you guys think they're like cut and dry? Like, do you think any of these 4 are better than the other, or they're all roughly equal?
Um, I personally think Rapid Strike and Fluttermane are like on their like kind of like small own level, like those two, and then it goes Chiyu, Chimpao. I think in the slightly strength level.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, it's easy being in my position because I am the first round pick on Sunday here, looking at all 4 of these Pokemon. At some point or another, I've looked at all 4 of these plus Shedinja, which I'm sure we'll get to later. But I'd have to agree that Fluttermane and Urshifu are the first 2 people really look at. I think those 2 really leave you a little bit more open compared to the other 2, whereas the other 2 kind of course you into a certain type of draft style. Not that Urshifu also kind of pigeonholes you a little bit, but Fluttermane just leaves you really open, and I think a lot of people are thinking that's probably one of the first ones to go on either day.
I mean, yeah, I agree. Fluttermane, Urshifu kind of bit a little bit above the other 2, but I personally think Qianpao is better than Chiyu. I don't know if that's a hot take or not.
Uh, I
Like,
mean, like, I guess maybe with the better partner of Dragonite, maybe, since I guess Chi doesn't have like that like known like partner kind of thing. You just kind of couple it with every like any special attacker that's good versus like Chimpao just like always tries to like have Dragonite as his partner, or I guess any extreme speed Terra normal user.
yeah, but Qianpao's also like 130 something speed. Like it can function on its own, whereas Chiyu's like a little bit slower, so you kind of have to protect it. Don't get
Very
me
true.
wrong, they're both busted, but I think like if I had my option of either, I'd probably pick Qianpao, which is really funny because season 3 I picked Chiyu over Qianpao.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Like Chen Pao, the speed tier really makes it a little more appealing. But then the other consideration and the classic consideration comes to a lot of draft seasons is where is my good special attacker on my team? And that's both like a plus and a minus for Chiyu because you grab Chiyu and you're like, oh great, I have this strong special attacker. I don't need to really worry about it. But then you kind of want to pair Chiyu with some other strong special attackers, right? And it's like, where can I find a place to fit it in my draft? I feel like sometimes I'll make a draft and be like, wow, the typings look great, the speed tiers look great, and then I look and I'm like, oh, I have one special attacker on my team.
Yeah, we've definitely all been there. So
Mhm.
Thunder, you had both Ogre Pawns as first round draft pick, or well, the two that are most popular, Water and Fire. You have anything you want to?
Yeah, just I think they're really good. Leaves your team pretty open. You can like build around those two Pokemon very well. Like, can they be physically offensive? They can support, have decent coverage, I think, and it's a very good Pokemon to go in the first round to play around your team. Keeps you open.
I mean, I agree they're great Pokemon, but I feel like there's just stronger stuff available. Like I think I would put them below some of the other things we have on this list. Like out of what you said, I would definitely put them below Iron Hands.
Oh yeah, 100%. I guess I didn't like order them. I kind of forgot to order them properly. I would definitely have Iron Hands above those two for sure. I would just like say that Orgapon, like, I don't think it'd go in the first 8 rounds, but I think that like there's a potential chance they can go in the first round, like near the end. It's
Yeah,
like I don't know, maybe you can wheel them with another good Pokemon, and I think they're overall pretty good, but for sure, like Iron Hands and like these other Pokemon are probably gonna be picked before them, so.
I mean, I agree with that. I think I'd be really happy to get like a second pick Ogerpon on the wheel.
Yeah.
The Ogerpon arms race, if you would, is really interesting because I think everyone's looking for that strong follow me option on their team. And it's like you see the Ogrepons, you're like, wow, like these guys have great typings. You have Ivy Cudgel, you have Follow Me, you have Spiky Shield. It's all great utility. And then you look and you're like, oh, they're Gen 9. So there's so many strong picks in Gen 9. It's just a matter of how much do you value those Ogrepons? And do you think if you pass up on it, will an Ogrepon make it back to you? I've seen a lot of people with a late. I can't tell you how many drafts I've seen where people are like, "Oh, round 6, Ogerpon plain." Like, it's
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna
every
make
once in
it
a
to be
while.
sure like, everyone's gonna use their Gen 9 picks, and hopefully I get to that plain Ogerpon before everyone else does.
I
But
also
definitely, I think a later first round pick could be a good pairing.
I also think there's like an additional opportunity cost with Ogerpon that a lot of people don't consider when they just slam it on a draft. Like aside from it being a Gen 9 Pokemon, it also can't Terra. It can only Terra into its Mask type.
Very good point.
That is true.
So
Very
like
true.
you draft Ogerpon Hearthflame and it has to be a Fire type. Versus if you draft, something like Iron Hands, it can be anything. Now,
That is true.
your fourth Pokemon on there, I know
Hmm.
might be a little divisive to one of us here, but I think the bear's good.
I also think it's a pretty good Pokemon. I think it's probably one of the best Trick Room Sweepers to have in the game. Lots of damage with guts and stuff, and
I
think
mean,
that thing is a menace. You let it
Wait,
sit under.
what are we insinuating here?
I
I
thought,
think there's a little strong
oh,
too.
I thought,
I'm a little low on Blood Moon personally.
okay, so I think Blood Moon, you can see it on my column on the right, is better than regular Ursaluna.
I would agree.
And
I mean,
I would definitely draft Blood Moon first round before I drafted regular Ursaluna first round. Even
I would
even
okay.
with
disagree.
even with the Gen 8, Gen 9 consideration.
That's where the line gets drawn for me is that Gen 8, Gen 9 consideration. Like I think at first I thought, oh, Gen 8 is definitely one of the stronger gens with Gen 9, which we'll talk about later. But I think once you get past the great picks in Gen 8, the few great picks, it really drops off in quality. And I think that's what puts Ursaluna so much higher for me. And I think that's the same thing why I considered Urshifu alongside Fluttermane too, right? You get that Gen 8 pick, and then there's gonna be something good left in Gen 9 when it comes around to your next pick, right? Whereas I
Yeah.
don't know if you can necessarily say the same with Gen 8.
I
Yeah, I would
think
agree.
I think it depends how many people pick Gen 8 in their first round. If more
That's
people are
also very true.
prioritizing Gen 9, which is, something that people seem to be doing with people I've talked to, it's been a lot of Paradox Pokemon going from what people are saying. But like even something like Regieleki or Dragapult is like pretty good shot at being on the table for coming back on the wheel.
And I might be biased because I'm at that first round, first overall pick, right? Because when I'm thinking about Gen 8, Gen 9, I'm also considering all the second round picks that are going to come back towards me, right? So I think that's what's kind of led me subconsciously
Yeah,
towards a
it's a
Gen 8 bias, because it's like those Gen 8 picks are definitely going to be gone by the time it gets back to me.
yeah, it's a little different for Thunder at 13 and me at 10. Like there's a
Yeah,
realistic chance Dragapult comes back to us.
for
Right.
sure. Yeah. That's why I
Um,
had Ursaluna over Blood Moon as a first round potential pick. That way it leaves you a Generation 9 Pokemon up later in the draft that you can pick up because surely like there's gonna be something good in Generation 9 to be picked up still.
okay. The reason I'm so much higher on Blood Moon over Ursaluna, even with the Gen 9, Gen 8 thing, is
Yep,
it can hit Ghost types because Mind's Eye is a busted ability,
yep.
and B, more importantly, there are a lot, and I mean a lot of good physical Trick Room sweepers. There are not a ton of good special Trick Room sweepers.
That is true, yeah.
Like, you pair an Ursaluna Blood Moon with a Marowak Alola, and that sounds disgusting to me. Or with a Hariyama, like, you have good options on the physical side, whereas on the special side, it's really just like Hatterene and Porygon 2.
Yeah, I think
There's
once again, I think
there's some others like Glacier for example. It's another great
Yeah,
oh
but
that's physical,
that's
sorry.
physical, yeah.
That's physical. I'm thinking of the other horse, damn. Maybe you're right.
The only other one I can think of is Vikavolt in Gen 7. I know Sage had a pretty like pop-off Trick Room Vikavolt season in low tier, but I don't know if it holds up in a format that's this high powered.
Yeah.
I think it
Um,
harkens back to that special attackers few and far between sometimes.
yeah, especially at the speed tier you need it. Like there's a lot of special attackers, they're just, base 90 and they're harder to fit on a team. So going to something that you and I had in common, Cocoa Puffs, we both put Tapu Koko. Um, I'm personally really high on that Pokemon. I think it's like a fairy type Dragapult. It's got like a crazy speed tier. It's got some decent utility moves with screens and taunt. It's got speed control with Electro Web, and it can run physical or special sets. And while Dragapult has really good coverage moves, Tapu Koko kind of doesn't, but it trades it off by having electric terrain. And so I think it is comparable and something that I personally was like pretty hyped to try and first pick going into the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've heard Tapu Koko from at least 10 different people on a pick they hope gets to them, and obviously it's not going to get to everybody. I think both the terrain setters, Coco and Lele, I mean, just having the terrain set in general, it's a Gen 7 pick, which is still a great gen, but obviously leaves your 8 and 9 open for your follow-up picks. Uh, and everything you said, it can run physical, it can be special, it can run a supportive set. It's an electric type, it's a fairy type, both great offensive typings. It's fast. There's just a lot you can get from Coco, and you don't need to really commit to the terrain. I mean, it's just a nice bonus for itself with that extra damage, right? And with the sleep negation. Hopefully, we don't see anyone draft some Spore Pokemon alongside their own Tapu Koko this season.
And
But
there's also the Quirk Drive potential. You slap a Tapu Koko
that's
and
right.
an Iron Hands next to each other, and it gets scary
Yeah.
really quick.
That's probably my biggest plus about Tapu Koko. Just comparing this thing with any Quirk Drive user like Iron Valiant, Iron Hands, Bundle, whichever Quirk Driver you would want to pair off on your team makes it like a very deadly combo, especially since you have your item slot open on your Iron Pokemon.
Um,
I know we talked a little bit about how the drafts are kind of mutually exclusive in a way. You don't really necessarily want the other one if you draft one of them, but something about the Tapu Koko Regieleki combo really fires the neurons off in my brains. Like I just see the damage potential, how fast those Pokemon are. Someone out there, please, if you take Tapu Koko, try to take Regieleki. I think it'd be so fun to watch.
Going back to Tapu Lele, which you mentioned earlier, I think I would put it below a lot of these other picks, and not that it's a weak Pokemon, like it's objectively a great Pokemon, but I think locking yourself into expanding force spam on your first pick is a little difficult because most of the good expanding force Pokemon are Gen 8 and Gen 9, And so you give up at
Mhm.
a like pretty big opportunity cost. Be like, okay, I'm drafting Tapu Lele and Hatterene. And then it's like, okay, that Hatterene could have been something more powerful. I'm drafting Tapu Lele and Iron Crown. That Iron Crown could have been something more powerful had I not picked Tapu Lele.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's such an easy comp to navigate. I think that's what makes it appealing in the first round. I do know it's open Terra this season, so you might just load into that Terra preview and see 6 dark types on the enemy team if you're really committed to the expanding force. I think the smart thing to do with Lele is make sure you don't fully pigeonhole yourself into it. You take your one expanding force user and then try to find yourself another mode to work alongside it. Try to find a terrain abuser like Halucha, like Sneasler. Try to find some other strong modes so that your opponent can't just bring a bunch of counters to your expanding force.
Yeah, that's what I would agree with Cocoa Puffs here. My only problem with Tapu Lele is the open Terra format might make it a little bit worse since, like you said, that you can load up with like 6 dark types on that enemy team, as well as there's some other things you can do like Ice Spinner and like I think it's Steel Roller that takes away terrain. So like there's ways
Yeah.
to outplay it, and Wide Guard obviously is like the probably biggest counter to the
Don't
expanding
even
force team. So as
don't even
long
get me started on Ice Spinner, man. I'll never forget getting Ice Spinnered with my NDD and thinking I had the wrong ability.
yeah, that was against me. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
whatever you say, Commissioner, you definitely didn't rig it to restart the match.
But yeah, it's a pretty good Pokemon, but I would hard agree with Cocoa Puffs that you want to draft alternate modes with this Pokemon, so you don't make yourself just like countered by like a million things that expanding force can get countered by.
I'm gonna group these next two together because I think they're kind of similar in a way. I think your shout out for Tyranitar and my shout out for Sylveon, both like powerful attackers with game plans you can draft around them. You know, Sylveon wants Tailwind or Trick Room. Tyranitar obviously wants its best bud Excadrill. Um, I think the reason that we have them both on here is they're from really shitty generations, and so
Yeah,
you're
that's really all it comes down to.
they're like just strong enough to consider taking first. Like, maybe a little weaker than some of the other Pokemon here, but they're from horrible generations. So
Yeah, and obviously the one Pokemon that didn't make the list here that was on it before, I wanted to hide it, but now that I don't think I'm taking it, I think Aegislash is just another one of those options where it's like I think there's a real strategy this season to just taking Pokemon from the bad gens and then getting those out of the way, getting your guaranteed good Pokemon from those gens, and then punting your Gen 9, your Gen 8, your Gen 5 down the line where you know you're going to get something at least all right.
yeah. We already talked about Blood Moon. Okay. It says Tornadus and Whimsicott here, but
Yeah,
realistically, I'm just gonna lump this in with Prankster Tailwind setters. Tornadus, Whimsicott, Murkrow, Talonflame as the
yeah.
the four big ones. I could see like someone middle pick or later pick taking one of these first round, especially Talonflame or Murkrow with what we just said. Like, Gen 6, Gen 2 pretty weak overall. They're, solid utility that you're always going to be able to get some use from. Um, and, you just try and round out the rest of your draft with decent Pokemon to make use of the speed control.
Yeah, Tornado Swims are probably the biggest ones though for Tailwind setters. Obviously from Generation 5 and they're both from Generation 5. Both can do slightly different things, but I think probably Tornadus is probably the stronger one of the two for Tailwind users. Also, drafting those two Pokemon or you're drafting one of those Pokemon in your first slot keeps you pretty open. Can draft some other Pokemon alongside it with Tailwind support and stuff.
So usually I would agree with you that out of the four, I'm always slamming Tornadus in a normal draft. But I think
Hmm.
because of how horrible Gen 6 is and how like pretty solid Gen 5 is, I think Talonflame is actually the correct option if you're gonna take any of these first. Like
Oof.
unless you have some other like rain-based plan where you want Tornadus or some sun-based plan where you want Whimsicott, I
Hmm.
think Talonflame actually is the objectively best with the weirdness of this format.
This format, yeah, I can definitely agree with that. To get away with picking the worst generation and get a good Pokemon out of that is pretty good early. It's just all depends on how you want to play the rest of your draft on what you're gonna do.
I mean, yeah, slap a Dracovish with any of these. It's your Gen 8 pick, and oh boy.
That's it's a pretty menacing Pokemon with the weather
Yeah.
Yeah,
or
Um,
even
I mean,
Tailwind support.
you
good,
do have to
CocoPuffs.
consider that, but obviously the Gen 6, getting the Gen 6 out of the way with Talonflame, I would agree, but like sometimes, depending on your draft plans, I mean, there's just so much more support you're guaranteed by those other Pokemon. Like Whimsicott, you get your Encore. Tornadus, you get your Rainy Day. Thundurus, well, Thundurus obviously doesn't have the Tailwind, but Murkrow, you get your Quash.
Hey,
So
Talonflame's
yes,
got Will-O-Wisp. It's got Taunt.
true. It's but the Will-O-Wisp isn't Prankster, right? That Gale Wings only gives you those.
You
Obviously
also get
the benefit is you can
Feather
also use your
Dance.
attacking moves with that priority too. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's.
Murkrow
You,
also has Feather Dance.
that's true.
I mean, Talonflame's like 126 speed. I don't think much stuff aside from Paradox and Gen 9 bullshit will outspeed it. But I definitely get what you're saying. It is less utility than the other three.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
just all depends on the rest of your draft, what you want to plan.
The last two Pokemon we haven't talked about. I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on. It's their Shifu Single Strike and Incineroar, both insane dark types. They've had really good pedigree, especially Incineroar. Just wouldn't be surprised to see these picked up.
yeah. I think they're gone by the time it gets back to me, and that's all that matters to me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
If I think if anything on the screen makes it to third round, I'm a little upset. With
a little worried.
maybe the exception of Sylveon if people aren't prioing Gen 6.
Yeah. That's probably
Uh,
the one standout.
yeah, Incineroar is probably one of the best Pokemon to build around your team. No, like like
I
really
mean,
good
it
typings.
keeps you so open. You can draft Incineroar and
Yeah,
put anything next to it, and it'll
yeah,
work.
you can draft a fast mode, the trick room mode, like a balanced team. Like there's so many different things you can do with it. Does decent damage, has great support, utility moves, and just does everything that you'd ever want from a Pokemon
All right,
defensively.
let's move on to what we think are some sleeper first round picks, some Pokemon that we haven't heard a lot of people considering, or things we think are strong that aren't necessarily strong in other formats. Um, so yeah, there's Talonflame, which we talked about a fair bit. Uh, CocoPuffs put it. I was kind of glazing it on the last screen. We know it's great. Um, Thunder started off his with two Paradox Pokemon. You wanna talk about them?
Yeah, so Iron Valiant, it's a Pokemon that I did not think I was gonna say was good in VGC, but ever since in season 2, when I drafted it the first time around, this Pokemon in draft, like maybe it's bad in VGC, but in draft, this Pokemon is just, in my opinion, it's really good. It's incredibly flexible, has a million physical and special moves you can run on this Pokemon, has great support utility on this Pokemon as well, and you can like do physical sets with Quirk Drive, special sets with Quirk Drive. Can run almost like anything on this Pokemon, and it's gonna be useful. Just it's really, I don't know. I think it's a really solid Pokemon. It is frail, obviously, but this Pokemon can literally do whatever you want.
Yeah,
That's
and it
why I
can
love this Pokemon.
it can theoretically Destiny Bond a Great Tusk and ruin somebody's
Yeah.
day.
Yep. Shout out to season 2.
Uh,
Go ahead.
McFeeds Thunder. I know Stack Attack is on your list there, Thunder, but if you wouldn't
Yeah,
mind, I'd like to give it its formal introduction. That's okay with you too,
th-
McFeeds.
that's
I
fine with me.
I think the Pokemon's good. I think from what I've seen, names won't be named, but people are slamming it on random ass drafts that don't need a stack attacker.
Okay, all right. Now time for me to glaze this Pokemon. Listen,
Okay.
the number of drafts. First things first. Number of drafts I've seen where it's like, oh, all my typings are good, but except for rock types. But rock types aren't real and they can't hurt me. There's your rock type. And then the number of drafts that are like, oh, I really want a steel type, but all the good steel types are in Gen 9. Here's your Gen 7 steel type. Great typing, crazy BST coming in with the. Oh my god, what is it even? It's like.
It's an
Whether you're
Ultra
talking about the
Beast, so it's
speed.
like
It's about
600 or 550.
with an insane attack stat, an insane physical defense stat at 211. HP is a little low. Special defense still at 101, and then your speed at 12, right? Your trick room teams, any trick room team's gonna love this Pokemon. It could set its own trick room. It's a trick room sweeper. You can run body press and do insane amount of damage with a defensive build. And then if you're a fast team, this is your ultimate trick room denial Pokemon. You can deny trick room by resetting it. You can just have it sit there, and if your opponent sets trick room for you, it's gonna be the slowest thing in the format, and it's gonna wipe your opponent's team. It pairs well with strong special defenders like Fluttermane. It has ally switch for support. I just think this Pokemon provides so much at a Gen 7 pick with Beast Boost, so it could snowball if it does get that kill.
Yeah,
I
I can agree with Billy on this pick. I think this Pokemon's insane with its BST, and it's the slowest Pokemon in the format for Trick Room, so like nothing will outspeed this thing, barring maybe like Iron Ball room service users. Insane defense, body press. You can slap it on a fast team, a slow team. It's like overall, I think it's a really good Pokemon, especially with the Beast Boost. Can
my
snowball
only
really well.
my only real gripe is it is the biggest Terra Hog of all time. It is two 4x weaknesses. It's a horrible defensive typing, and Rock Steel, aside from, people just not drafting Rock Resist for whatever reason, is a pretty abysmal offensive typing. It does not hit much super effectively. So you're basically forced to Terra this thing. And if you're drafting another
Uh,
strong Pokemon that might need Terra, like say your Urshifu or Fluttermane, then it can be a little problematic.
I think generally I could agree with the Terra point, but because this is open Terra, if it was like Terra captains, then maybe I'll be hesitant because like it kind of like you said needs like the Terra options, right? But because it's open Terra, you don't necessarily have to Terra every time. I think it can still like do its okay, like hold its own with body press sets and these utility moves. Yeah, it might just get like one shot, but like I think you can play around it. Like it's forcing like your opponent to like use resources on this Pokemon to get rid of it, while your other Pokemon can like do some damage
I
or
mean,
do
yeah,
whatever it needs to
there's a
do.
lot of mind games with I either one shot the stack Attacka or it Terras. I'm gonna over predict and not go for the one shot. But
Hmm.
I don't know. Personally, I'm higher on your fourth Pokemon you have there. I love the
Yep.
Ice Horse. I think Glastrier is even more of a menace under Trick Room.
Hmm.
Albeit it does not have the utility that Stack Attacka does. It is just pure offense. But
Yep.
Ice as an offensive typing is insane. Glastrier has ridiculous bulk. I don't have its stats pulled up, but it's not as physically bulky as Stack Attacka, but it is in a similar ballpark, and it is very well rounded with its HP stat and its special bulk. But the
Yeah,
real
it's
good,
hmm Oh, I was gonna say that's it's base 100 HP and then like base 130 defense, which is still really really good defensively, and 110 special defense.
the real reason I'm a big fan of it is if you ever set up Snow or Snow plus Aurora Veil and have a Glastrier out, it will not die ever.
Yep. Yep. That's why I was really big on this Pokemon, even though like my playstyle really is not Trick Room, but I think this Pokemon is like really insane. I think we only saw it one time in PDL, which was like I think season 4 or
Yeah,
5.
nobody drafts this thing.
I think Sage had it one time, and I was like, this Pokemon's really good. Like it's the opposite of Special Opposite, right? Where it's really good in Trick Room. So I think this Pokemon could do really well. It's just we haven't seen anyone like build a good like team around her. Like no one's just been really picking it
The
at all.
uh
But I think this Pokemon has the like really insane snowball chance to like
the other
take a game away.
the other crazy thing about it is it gets Icicle Crash, right? But it also gets high horsepower. So between ice and ground, it has like perfect coverage on everything. Like it is a crazy offensive typing if you have ice ground. And I
Oh,
don't
I
think
didn't
it's
know that.
quite as much of a Terra Hog as Stack Attacka, even though ice is a horrible defensive type. It can kind of just muscle its way through hits if it needs to.
Hmm.
Moving on to some of the other picks. I've been super high on Blastoise basically every Nat Deck season. Like the only reason I didn't put it on my list is because I got Billy's list before I made mine, and it was already on there. I mean, this
Hmm.
thing gets Fake Out, it gets Follow Me, it gets Icy Wind. It's just a beast of a utility Pokemon with decent enough bulk and pure water typing's good defensively. Then if you're feeling really spicy, it gets Shell Smash and Water Spout.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. Yeah. And then you can always just turn up with an offensive set and throw you for a loop.
Yeah. I think it is probably top 3 Gen 1 Pokemon. Definitely top 5.
Yeah,
I'm right there with you. It's like that
it's really good.
Zapdos.
Yeah, I was gonna say, speaking of other Gen 1 Pokemon, I put Zapdos down. When I first cooked the format idea, I was like, oh, I'm not gonna pick a Gen 9 Pokemon in my first round. Everybody's gonna do that. I'm gonna take Zapdos. And I've kind
Yeah.
of, waned off it a little bit, because I don't think it has the power level it needs, but it is still a really good Pokemon.
I mean, the T-Tar Zapdos 1-2 combo is still a very real draft idea,
mean,
right? Get your 2
if
and 1 out of the way.
if you want to go back to Gen 4, Gen 5 VGC, get your Garchomp Zapdos combo.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a classic. Great bulk, great damage, but 125 special attack.
And
It's
then just
overall like
just spam your Discharge Earthquake. Zapdos has Tailwind for utility, and if you want to build a raiding team, Hurricane.
yeah, it's real good with Hurricane and Rain.
On a similar note, just some solid mid-gen Pokemon. Heatran's classic, great typing, great stats. It's been a mainstay of VGC for a while. Lando Eye is something that you hadn't seen in previous VGC generations, but has been picking up a lot in Gen 9. I think people are starting to realize how hard it is to switch into a Life Orb Sheer Force boosted Earth Power from something that hits that hard. And it's a flexible Pokemon because it can be both a physical sweeper or a special sweeper with its stat spread.
Yep.
Insane coverage too. This thing is every move.
Yeah, I've seen like this thing gets like a lot of different like options on the special side too, like for coverage and stuff.
That's
I think it's like what
Sludge Bomb Earth Power.
Yep.
It Sludge Bomb the grass types, Earth Power everything else.
Yep.
Cry when a flying type comes out. Hope the rest of your team can handle that.
Yep. And if you get this thing in the, I think it's the rain, I believe, will make Sandseer Storm 100% accurate.
I think it also works in Sandstorm, but I could be wrong about that.
I'm not sure, but I'm seeing here it can't miss in rain, so it's pretty good AoE move. 100 base
Yeah, and it's
power,
a-
right? 20% chance to burn foes.
Yeah,
too.
it's like
Multiple foes.
super spread Scald.
Yep. Except with like a lower chance, like 10% chance on the skull, but or the burn, but still like really good move if you can get rain, or if you want to like just go for the straight up 80% accuracy chance of
Yeah,
landing it.
I think the only real downside with it is that 4x weakness and its lack of utility options. It basically has to be an attacker, and it's not the fastest thing in the world.
Yeah, 101 speed.
Yeah. So it needs a little bit of help, but it has that raw firepower to just nuke something, which is kind of similar to the last Pokemon on here we haven't talked about, Raging Bolt. I don't know if you want to give it its dues, Billy, since you drafted it last season.
Oh my goodness. Let's just say you can get pretty much any photosynthesis boost on this Pokemon, I found out, but it's very similar to Iron Hands, where each week, if you love doing some crazy EV stat spreads, you can EV this thing to do a lot of different things, hit a lot of different kill markers, tank hits that you wouldn't think it could be able to tank, special priority Sucker Punch, pretty much, right? With that Thunderclap. You could even run a utility, but this thing just hits really hard. You're gonna almost always every week, as much as you can, go any photosynthesis boost. Almost every week, it's a special attack and hit that Thunderclap button and make people think about when they're allowed to press moves, even when they're faster than you.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, it's very bulky. Does a lot of damage.
All right, let's you guys have anything else you want
There
to
is
talk
one more
about?
Pokemon you did forget on my list, which is Iron Bundle.
Oh no, I did that in the intro. You just spent the whole time talking about Iron Valiant.
Oh, I just heard Iron Valiant. I got too crazy about Iron Valiant.
Yeah,
But,
it's your mascot, man.
Small
the
note, Iron
Gardevoir
Bundle,
guy.
very, I think a very sleeper Pokemon. Think it
I mean,
can do a lot of work.
Freeze Dry plus Hydro Pump's perfect coverage. It hits every regular type perfectly, so it doesn't matter that it has no other moves.
Yeah, Icy Wind support,
Encore.
with a Encore, and then you can go boost energy speed to like make sure that you're like the fastest thing. It's like I think it's like one of the fastest boost energy except
It
for
it outspeeds Fluttermane.
Fluttermane.
I thought it outsped Fluttermane by 1 point.
I'm not sure. I
Waterman's
just know
135.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure bundles 136.
you're
That's
right. Yeah,
crazy.
Iron Bundle's 136. Yo, it is
Yep.
the fastest. Yeah, I just think it's a sleeper Pokemon. No one's been talking about it, and I think this Pokemon is pretty decent to pick up.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move on to our sleeper mid-round draft pickups.
Ooh, it's my favorite section.
We've got a lot here, so I don't know that we're gonna get through all of them, but everyone can talk about, let's say, 3 of the 5 they picked.
Okay.
Thunder,
Don't make me
you
choose.
wanna start us off? Pick the one out of yours that you think is the best.
Probably the best one is probably gonna be Silvally, just because the fact that this thing can just like kind of like help your team out in like so many different ways. 95 base stats across the board, and can be any type you want for your team. So gives you any resistance that you need or any like offensive coverage that you need, and Pokemon just literally fits in the team so well, like any team.
Yeah, it is baby Arceus at home. Billy, which one of yours you want to talk about?
Man, I probably have to go with Yon Mega. The Gen 4 bug. It's got speed boost. It's got Tailwind. It's got Compound Eyes, Sleep Powder.
It
This thing.
it actually doesn't have compound eyes.
There's only
That's only
Yanma?
Yanma. Yeah, it gets tinted lens, which makes it more of an offensive threat.
Okay,
Yep.
fair enough. Both the bugs just giving you a fast Tailwind option. If you miss out on those Pranksters Tailwind Pokemon, if you're looking for something a little more offensive, Yon Mega is definitely the way to go.
Yeah,
First also being a really good ability on that Pokemon too sometimes.
Yep.
I want to highlight Florges. I've been so high on this Pokemon, and specifically this season. In past seasons, I've called it a fraud. It's bulky, it sits there, it doesn't do much. But Gen 6 is horrible, and every draft needs a fairy type. And Florges has the ability Symbiosis. So if you are drafting a strong Paradox Pokemon and you're using Booster Energy, you send it in, you get your Booster Energy boost, and then it eats whatever item is on Florges and puts it on itself. So you send out your Roaring Moon, give it Booster Energy Speed, and then give it a Choice Band, and holy, that thing is killing stuff.
Yeah, that is a insane, pretty insane combo with the Paradox Pokemon. There's a lot of potential, like creative, like usages. Like you can like give it a like Covert Cloak or Life Orb, or like there's so many endless like ways to
I
out like think your opponent.
I will say I think it announces what item it gives, so you can't like put a resist berry on it and
Oh,
get
the surprise factor.
yeah, the surprise factor. You want to
Okay,
talk
I did
about
not know that.
another one of yours, Thunder?
Yeah, sure. I think also Gallade, another obviously
Oh,
no surprise there.
of course, the Gardevoir guy wants to talk about Glade.
Yeah, I gotta sell these points. No one looks at these Pokemon, but Gallade, I think another great Pokemon. I think it's kind of interesting because on a speed stat, because it's 80, so I think it's good enough to play in a Tailwind mode, and I think it's just slow enough to play in a Trick Room mode. But the biggest thing I'd say that makes this Pokemon really good is the new ability it was given, Sharpness with Night Slash, Psycho Cut. You're going to be doing a lot of damage with those two moves, with the 1.5 multiplier.
Yeah, I think with sharpness it hits harder than Mega Glade with its attack boost.
I believe so. It
That's
also gets like
crazy.
Aqua Cutter, another like sharpness move. Like has the decent amount of sharpness moves you can use. So pretty flexible Pokemon that can play both in Trick Room and Tailwind, I think.
Yeah, solid pickup. What do you want to talk about, Billy?
I'd be remiss without mentioning Scizor, one I originally had on my first round sleeper picks. It's just not a lot of great steel types outside of Gen 9. There are a few. There's probably like one good one from each gen, but Gen 2 is not one of the better gens. It's a good way to get your steel type on the board. Bulky, it's got decent attack stat. just that fire weakness, and obviously there is Open Terra, and this thing also learns Tailwind. So if you're looking for a bulky Tailwind backup, Scissor's your guy.
I want to talk about a Pokemon that I think you both too hate, Moltres Galar. I think you've told me it's a fraud multiple times. Maybe I'm really high on it because I used it on my Dynamax team in Gen 8. But like as we said, there's not a lot of great special attackers. Sometimes it's hard to fit, or well, sometimes it's hard to fit a special attacker on your draft. You'd rather have other things. And
Mhm.
it's good typing. I've been able to fit it on a lot of drafts, and having a special type Rock Slide is disgusting because 20% chance to flinch just wins you the game sometimes.
It also has 20% chance to flinch on its move.
Yeah, it's literally just a special Dark type Rock Slide. It's a complete clone.
Okay. Gotcha.
I was about to say, I personally, I have no qualms with Moltres Galar. I think Gen 8 is one of the better picks in Gen 8 after you hit your threshold,
No.
and great typing, and it's a special attacker.
Yeah, I think
The
it'll
only
be
reason why
a little harder to proc Berserk and make it like truly threatening without Dynamax, because that thing with Dynamax was a menace. But I still think it has play. I wouldn't be upset to pick it up.
Yeah, I did call it a fraud initially, but I guess that's like mostly because every time I've seen this Pokemon in other draft leagues or like just in general, I never seen it actually do something in like a draft league. But I will agree in like Gen 8 Dynamax era, that thing was definitely like a beast. But nowadays maybe I haven't seen the right person cook with it properly or use it effectively. So who knows? Maybe it's the goat, maybe it's a fraud.
All right, you got one more you can talk about before we move on from this Thunder. We'll do one more each.
Okay, I will talk about Staraptor, another one of my Pokemon. I convinced McFeeds
Oh
that
yeah,
it's a good Pokemon.
that Gen 7 season, this thing couldn't work for me.
Yeah, so pretty great Pokemon, I think, with two good abilities, Intimidate and Reckless. I'm more of a fan of the Reckless sets. I think Choice Band with Double Edge, Brave Bird, and Close Combat, or I guess not Close Combat because it doesn't work with Reckless, but those two moves in general, I think makes this thing a like insane threat and can like nuke a lot of things that you wouldn't think would get like nuked by.
I mean,
And
people don't draft Flying Resist. It's the same with Rock types. Rock
yeah,
Resist. There's so many teams that end up with like one Flying Resist, and it's their Steel type.
and it's based on your speed, so it's not like the fastest thing, but it does obviously have access to Tailwind and another utility move in Final Gambit, which is pretty good. A lot of people sleep on the Final Gambit Staraptor. So with decent HP, I think it's like also base 100 HP, I believe. So it's a pretty high threshold for a Final Gambit on a
I think it's
decent amount of
base. I
Pokemon in
think
the
it's
meta.
base 80.
80? Okay.
Yeah, because I only was able to use Final Gambit 1 week.
Oh, I see. It's 85. It's 85. I see it.
85.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I used it to
Yeah.
kill Bronzong, which is a
Yeah.
low base HP Pokemon.
So I think it's just overall a decent Pokemon.
Bill, you got one more you want to talk about?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna go ahead and talk about circuitry here. I don't know if the graphics guy got the memo, but that's actually an Electabuzz next to circuitry. We're gonna look like we don't know ball after this one. But
Keep going.
circuitry has a I believe it's a 173 special
Yeah.
attack stat with Beast Boost. Electric types aren't the best of it's hard sometimes to find an electric type that fits your team. But Gen 7 Beast Boost, if this thing gets a kill, it's gonna have an even higher special attack stat. It's gonna fit on one of those teams that has a really good tailwind setter. Its speed is not the best. It's at 83, so it's gonna need that tailwind support. But if you're a team that's already drafting prankster tailwind support in your first two rounds to maybe pair with your Urshifus, your I don't know. Uh, Man, what else really pairs with the tailwind in early rounds? Everything is just fast from the
Sylveon,
first. Sylveon, maybe, yeah, you're gonna want to
Dracovish, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Dracovish.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna want to pick up the circuitry for your special attacker.
I mean, my only clap back against circuitry, I guess, is we ran a low tier VGC season and it was available to be drafted. And we're talking like the big threats in that season were Tinkaton and Swampert.
Is it? I guess.
And no one drafted it?
No, I think
I
Cheong
know
did,
I think Cheong was one. Yeah, I think he drafted it.
and
I don't remember how well he did with it.
he did not have a great season, but I don't think that was Circuitry's fault.
Yeah. I mean, like also tail. It gets tail glow too.
It
So
does.
like, I mean, maybe instead of tailwind support, you can run like redirection with it, and that's a pretty scary combo.
If you can ever guarantee your opponent has no ground types and just click electric moves, it pops off. But
Yeah.
it has very little to no coverage, and it cannot learn Terra Blast because it's a Ultra Beast.
Ultra Beast Pokemon. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it just kills everything else.
Oh, absolutely. The last Pokemon I want to talk about is Milotic. I think after last season, anyone who played the PDL won't think this thing's a fraud anymore. I mean, I think it legitimately carried Chris to more wins than any other Pokemon on his draft, because for whatever reason, people just kept intimidating or icy winding, and Milotic would get a boost, and then it would just click Muddy Water, Ice Beam, Scald, and kill stuff. And
Yeah, I was also one of the offenders. I also clicked. What was the move on Elomice I clicked? I think it was like not Struggle
Charm.
Bug. The String Shot.
Yeah.
By mistake. I completely forgot about competitive, and that thing just like deleted my team afterwards.
If your first pick is like a little soft to intimidate, like you got a Chien Pao or something, fitting a Milotic in there puts a lot of work in.
Yeah.
Agreed.
The last Pokemon draft category we're going to talk about is Pokemon that we think are overrated in this format. Similar to the last one, we've got a fair bit of things here, and we've been talking for a while, so I just want to get through this pretty quickly. So let's just pick maybe 2 each to talk about.
Let's start with Mr. ThunderMcBusterz Tapu
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
I
that's
mean-
probably
I mean,
biggest
you-
controversial take.
I
So
mean, Billy, you and I had that as should be taken in the first round, and Thunder has it as overrated.
so I have it with asterisks just to make sure it's very clear everyone sees that. So my thing is, I think this Pokemon is insanely strong if you pair it with like, a Quirk Drive Pokemon, your choice of like any Paradox Quirk Drive Pokemon. But my problem is this thing, right? It has a 115 attack and a 95 special attack, and this thing has better special coverage than physical coverage. And with a lower special attack, you probably want to run physical moves, right? But my problem with the physical moves is you don't get that much coverage. You only get Wild Charge. Oh, sorry, no, Wild Charge is not coverage, but you get like Brave Bird and Iron Head, really, as your
but
main like coverage things.
Hear me out. It's a really threatening
move.
flying type with acrobatics.
Flying type,
Yeah,
like with Terra.
you just tear it, and now it's like one of the best flying type attackers.
Yeah, I guess you can. I just think this Pokemon should be really paired with a Quirk Drive Pokemon. If it's not, I'm not sure if you see the same success with this Pokemon.
I mean,
That was my only
look
main
at
concern.
look at Dragapult. Its physical coverage is Phantom Force and Dragon Darts, and that Pokemon's still cracked.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I think this Pokemon is like very similar to Polt. It's slightly worse in move quality, but better in ability. Just
Yeah.
because Electric Terrain offers so much.
That was like my only like main concern with that. Like maybe I shouldn't put it in the overrated format, but like I don't know. I'm just like I'm not sure what this Pokemon looks like on a team without like a Quirk Drive abuser for on the electric terrain.
I
That
think
was my only
I think
main
that's fair.
concern.
I think I would definitely want a future Paradox with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I
And
mean,
then
of course you're gonna draft them with it. There's gonna be one available.
Yeah,
It's just a matter of what you get.
can't wait for Tapu Koko Iron Thorns to win the season.
Whoever takes
That'd
Tapu
be
Koko,
insane.
don't forget the Regieleki. That's all I'm saying. Please.
All right, Billy, which
Iron Bullet are looking pretty good as well.
you want to talk about one of yours?
I'm gonna go ahead and group some of ours to tackle it. I'll take Torkoal, Pelipper, Politoed, Basculegion, Arcaludon, and put them kind of in a
I was
bundle.
also gonna group those three.
All right.
Yeah. So weather, right?
Yeah.
Weather in this format still good. It's gonna still be a comp that people are gonna play. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be it's gonna have they're gonna have their moments, but it's just there's a lot more available in this format due to the sheer number of Pokemon that people are going to have some sort of counter for your weather on a week to week basis. And if you're leading into that full weather mode, it's gonna be rough.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. I think this season, this is probably the worst time to run weather in this throughout the generations format because there's so many counters to the weather this season. Like you have your prankster Pokemon that can like choose a different weather. You have also to open Terra, so you can like get a Pokemon to like resist that initial typing for like the weather boost. Like there's probably other things as well, but I just think this format, especially drafting a Pelipper and Polito, is probably not the way to go. I think if you're gonna draft Weather, you probably just draft like any prankster Pokemon that learns like Rain Dance and Sunny Day, and you play it like that, and that way the enemy opponent just can't like just tech on counters immediately and just like, oh, you just counter because you're full weather mode team.
I kind of disagree on this. I
Okay, I'm
uh
interested to hear.
I do agree. I think weather is weaker this format than others, but your weather setters tend to be from pretty mid to bad gens. So like, are you really upset with wasting a Gen 2, like air quotes, wasting a Gen 2 pick on Politoed and then having like one rain Pokemon on your team? Like, I think if you draft like, it's kind of funny because I have it on my list, but if you draft Politoed Arcaludon and then just don't add any more rain abusers, it's still solid to have the mode. I agree going all in on weather sucks, but I wouldn't necessarily say like Torkoal's a bad pick. I could see it going in the first round. Now,
I think
Yeah,
if I don't know, I wouldn't personally draft Torkoal in the first round or any of the weather setters,
I mean,
but
you
I
know
don't know, maybe
me.
someone can make it work.
You know me. I love my idea of Torkoal Walking Wake plus X.
Yeah, you gotta draft it this season. You've been
Uh,
talking about walking wicks for so long.
yeah. I will say I think Basculegion is kind of a fraud out of all of these five. It does feel kind of bad. Oh wait, it's Gen 8, not Gen 9. Never
Gen 8.
mind.
Yeah.
Never
Gen
mind.
8, yeah.
I would say it feels really bad to use your Gen 9 pick on Basculegion, but
Hmm.
I think it is better at Gen 8. Um, I want to talk about DDF. I
Yep.
think for the first season it's been legal, it might actually go undrafted.
Oh, I don't know
Um,
about
Okay.
that.
I think because Lele is so much stronger, both like normal like power level wise and opportunity cost wise, because a Gen 7 Pokemon versus a Gen 8 Pokemon,
Hmm.
that Indeedee really suffers, especially when it's like partners in crime, the best like Psy spam Pokemon and terrain abusing Pokemon are in the same gen as it. You can't go in DDF Sneasler easily, and you can't go in DDF Hatterene easily.
I mean, NDDF also has a really good partner, but the problem is it's in Generation 9,
Yeah,
and I don't
you
know if you want to
you
waste your pick
you
on
could
Armor
do
Rouge.
Iron Crown or Armor Rouge, but I just think the cost of taking Indeedee is so stark with this format that it might actually end up undrafted, which is crazy to me because I think I first picked it one season.
Yeah, with that Iron Crown Skarmory team that I can
Yeah,
remember.
yeah. I either picked it first or second. I can't remember the
Yeah.
order I did it
I
in.
think you picked Polt and then you picked Indeedee, I
Yeah.
believe.
I think I have to agree with you that it definitely is really overrated. That's a really good point to bring up with the common pairs being in the same gen as it, right? You got to use your flex pick later on. I don't know if it'll go undrafted. I could definitely see someone snagging it
I
just
mean,
for
it is
the
still just
utility
a
later in the
follow me
draft.
Pokemon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I could see it still going in the later rounds, mid to late rounds, but it's a very good point.
I think it probably can probably get going maybe in the flex pick. Someone might draft it then. Like I think like you can still make it use of it even if it's outside of Trick Room. But just like generally, I don't think this is gonna be like your first pick in Generation 8. It's probably gonna be something like your flex pick, maybe. But I'm not sure if you want to waste your flex pick on in DDF. Probably other follow me users you can pick up.
Do you want to talk about Trick Room setters, Billy? Since I see those last two on your list.
Yeah, it's funny because Gothitelle is someone I put on this list, and then someone I'm also looking at for my own draft, which is funny. But yeah, I mean, just trick room setters in general. I think there's going to be a lot of contention with trick room teams this season. I think there's a lot of good options for trick room. I don't know if you want to necessarily get embroiled in that mess, but especially with Farigiraf, it is a priority blocker. It is a good Trick Room setter, I will agree, but it's just something to consider that it is your Gen 9 pick. You're either going to have to flex it or it's going to have to be your main Gen 9 pick, which means you're missing out on another potential Trick Room sweeper
I
from
think it's
Gen 9.
I think it's a great flex pick. I think if you pick 6 round for Farigiraf, where you have a bit of a Trick Room core already, you're pretty happy. But yeah, there's definitely opportunity cost where if it comes down to, oh, I could have had Roaring Moon or Farigiraf as my flex pick, like
Yeah.
you're obviously gonna be a little sad when you take the Giraffe.
Or I
Yeah.
could have had Cresselia for my Gen 4 pick. I could have had Porygon 2 for my Gen 2 pick.
Hey, don't sleep on a Oranguru. I honestly think
Oh, I
Oranguru's.
love that
I think
Pokemon.
Oranguru's like Oranguru and P2 are probably the best Trick Room setters in the format because of the gens they're in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wait, nope. Stack Attack is in the
And
same.
Cresselia. Oh yeah,
Stack
don't forget
Attack is
about
in the
Stack
same
Attack.
gen
Oh,
as
Stack Attack,
Oranguru. Never mind. I gotta back that one up.
But
I think
Oranguru obviously
I
being
think
more
Cress is
supportive.
good, but I think putting priority on Cress is weird because there are 6 other Trick Room setters in that same generation that get Levitate.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd say
They're not as
Cresselia.
good, but
Yeah,
I
I
think if
mean
you draft
it's a
Cresselia, you should draft Ursaluna with it.
it's a sliding scale of like how upset am I to go Ursaluna Cresselia versus Ursaluna plus another Pokemon plus Uxie. It's like
Yeah.
do those other Pokemon make up for the fact I didn't get Cresselia? And I would say most of the time yes. All right. Last comment I want to talk about with the draft format is our rankings of the generations. We're like kind of in sync. We all think Gen 9's the best. We all think Gen 6 is the worst. That's pretty
yeah.
obvious.
Yep.
I mean, we've talked about this throughout the show at
Yeah,
this point,
I
right?
think the only things that are a little contentious are you and I say 5 is pretty high, where Thunder has it right in the middle, and then I think 4 is pretty bad, whereas you guys have it in the middle. So if we want to talk about those.
Yeah, I mean, I think I originally had 8/5 myself, but upon looking on the drop off that we talked about between the top tier Gen 8 Pokemon and the others in Gen 8, it's a lot higher than the drop off between, the quote unquote great Gen 5 Pokemon and the average Gen 5 Pokemon. I think it just depends on what you value. I think the average Gen 5 Pokemon is better than the average Gen 8 Pokemon, but I think the top end of Gen 8 is probably better than Gen 5.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly my
Yeah, I would.
agreement.
I'm more big on Generation 7 than like I guess you guys have 5 up there. Because I think there's a lot of like Pokemon you can just draft in Generation 7 on the low end. Like there's stuff like Ribombee up unavailable, and like all the Ultra Beasts are pretty decent. I think you got Savali, Bruxish. Like there's a lot of good Pokemon I think in Generation 7. That's why I have it high in my list over 5.
That's fair. Going to the other side of this, I think Gen 4 is kind of fraudulent. I think there's exactly like 4 or 5 Pokemon in Gen 4 that you're really happy to get, and then everything else you're like, that's fine. It fills a hole in my draft. Like outside of Garchomp, Cresselia, Heatran, and Togekiss, I don't know. I'm trying to think if I'm missing one because I probably
I
am.
What do you
yeah,
say, Weavile
I got
maybe?
I mean, Weavile, Infernape, Mamoswine, all the Rotoms I think fill a lot of like really like I'm really happy to get like 3 of the Rotoms.
Yep, I'm with Billy here.
Togekiss,
I mean, yeah, I think there's still like decent Pokemon in there, but I think like I think there are higher priority Pokemon from all the gens I have above 4. Like there's a larger depth of Pokemon that I want to take in the first like 2 or 3 rounds in the gens I have above 4 than in 4.
I mean, I don't know. There's I think there's still so many other Pokemon that we still haven't talked about in Generation 4 that could be potentially pretty good, like Ambipom and Empoleon, pretty good one. Gallade, like I said earlier, the Rotoms. I think like there's a lot of Pokemon in Generation 4, and it's like why I have in the mid tier. I think like you'll be happy with a lot of the Pokemon there. Like not as like the best Pokemon ever, but like they're still pretty competent, like pretty good like Pokemon overall.
I just have it as like the role player gen. I take my Gen 4 pick, I take it 7th, 8th, and I'm just pretty on what I get. It's fine. It does its job. It's better than the
I
Gen 2 and Gen 6 shitter
Mhm.
that would be left
I
at
personally
that
find
point in
myself taking
time.
four like 4 or 5 in a lot of my drafts as like a very valuable like fix to whatever my team needs. It's something that I'm really disappointed if I don't get it, and then I don't know.
Yeah, so you're ground weak and you pick your favorite Rotom form every time.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of Levitate users in Generation 4. A
Oh
lot of
yeah.
them.
Surprise! It happens to be Rotom Heat a lot.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
very weak too. Got it, got it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Heat, Mo, and Wash are all like solid Pokemon. I wouldn't be upset to draft them. It's just like I don't know. There's like a glimmer of things in Gen 2 and Gen 3 and Gen 1 where I'm like these have like really interesting strategies and like are build around stuff, whereas Gen 4 is just like this plug some holes, good enough.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. I just don't rate like if I were to like compare the Gen 1 and Gen 4 together and like look at the entire list, I still think I'm taking Generation 4 just because of like the I think there's just a couple better Pokemon in there over Generation 1.
That's
I
fair.
know like you're trying to fill holes, but I just see the value in some of these Pokemon and I think they're like pretty valuable.
All right, want to move on and talk about group draw a little bit. Um,
Ah,
Sure.
here we go.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna caveat this with we only probably know about 14 people in the group draw from previous seasons. Actually, it's probably a little more because we had some people like J Money and Snack Talk come back. So I'm gonna say like
Mhm.
roughly half we know. If you're a new person, like you just got the sign up from Titan, you haven't played in a previous season. Obviously, we don't know a lot about you. It's gonna be a little hard for us to rate you. I've had some conversations with some people about drafts, so I might throw them into discussions. But if your name doesn't come up, or I call you mid and you turn out to be a savant, it's just because we don't know.
Mhm.
So overall, out of the four groups, just off rip, which one do you think is the hardest group to make it out of?
Let you take this one, Billy.
I mean, we have differing opinions. Obviously, I don't want to be biased and say my own group, so I have the copium of later in the season being
I
like,
mean,
oh, I was in
I
the group of death.
I also think it's silver.
That's what I'm saying. I can't pick my own group. I'd have to say blue is probably one of the ones up there. In terms of difficulty, a lot. I mean, obviously, I'm gonna fear blue more, right? When every season I've made it to semifinals, and every season I've lost to the same guy in Smeargle Wizard Money Game, Gamegate. Um, my nemesis, if you would.
I mean, yeah,
I mean, I would say it's better if
Never
you're in
clicking
his
Draco
group.
Meteor again against that guy. By the
now
way,
That way you don't have to play him early
while
in the playoffs.
I agree that 5 out of the 8 PDL championships are in blue group between me and Gamagate. I think the rest of the group is so open that like those other two playoff slots are pretty. I don't want to say free, but like I could see literally anybody getting those last two playoff slots. It's
yeah.
like the first two are set in stone, and then the last two are super open. I think it's almost like kind of the group of life because of that.
I don't know if I'd call
I
it
don't know if
the
I'd say
group of
that.
life because then like you're already because like already two slots. If you're saying that two slots are gonna be guaranteed gone, like almost guaranteed gone, because like you and Gamma get probably like one, two, depending on like your order. There's only two slots left, so
You're
that
limiting the
makes it like
slots,
pretty
right?
tough. So I don't
Yeah,
know if I'd call
and
that the group of life.
out of the new people in that group, I'm pretty sure Derizen and Sharky are both new to VGC, and while they've both been putting in like a ton of effort with prep, like there's some of the people who've been hitting us up about drafts. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know that they'll have like the necessary experience, like oh they're a clear third, or they're they can contend with the top, and like I have them getting out of
Yeah.
playoffs, and so I think it keeps it really open. It's like the same with some of the other PDL people, like
Okay.
Waters made playoffs every season he's been, but he's been the fourth seed every time, and like he got it
Yep.
in off a tiebreaker last time. Or like
Yeah.
Chiong's had some seasons where he's done really well, and he's had some seasons where he's done really poorly, and same with Kaora. Also, Kaora, sorry, this is an old screenshot, and I haven't changed your team name. Uh, it is
What's the
fixed
team
on the
name?
actual sheet. I think it's like uh-oh, my wallet.
My wallet,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
at least my group of death. Initially I had the blue group, but every single day when I was looking at it, I was thinking, you know what? Maybe the silver group was
Oh,
a little bit tougher.
I absolutely think it's the silver group by far. There's a lot of PDL
Yeah.
people in here, and there's a lot of like loose cannon PDL people that have seasons where they look like the greatest thing on earth.
Mhm.
And some of them have had slacking seasons, but like
Yeah.
my two front runners are obviously Easton and CocoPuffs, as they both consistently played well in all the seasons they've been in. But like Koopa's a PDL champion. He's had some crazy seasons. Firemana had arguably one of the worst drafts of last season and is still taking games off of top-rated people.
Yeah. Made it
Do-
work.
Dory is people's kryptonite, and apparently he's taking this season seriously. So, maybe he'll show up.
Yeah, it's
and then you gotta remember Feeney's meteoric like first couple of weeks
Oh
last
yeah,
season where he took off games you didn't think he was gonna take. And Samuel
absolutely.
May from the group pool and draft order uh short conversation I had with him seems like he does know ball. He seems like one of the better rookies coming into the PDL. Um I hope he doesn't get Dracovish because he sounds like he was very adamant that he was gonna kick our butts with that Pokemon.
uh
I mean,
yeah, it's definitely a tough group in silver. There's a lot of great contenders in there.
I think it's just so open-ended with like I could see literally any of these people being number one in the group that it makes it the group of death. Less so than it's like, oh, you have all PDL champions in one group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk about red and gold since we didn't do them at all?
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, I think we agreed that I want to say gold is probably the group of life here, right?
I think so. I think red has the potential to be depending on the people, like the new people, 'cause there's a lot of new people in red. But
Yeah,
Mhm.
gold, I think, is similar to blue, where it's a bit of a two-horse race with Thunder and Chris at the top. Um, but no offense to Thunder and all offense to Chris with this. They've had some struggling points in seasons, and sometimes they just lose games that I think they should win.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd
Um,
agree. I don't know if I want to call my group initially the group of life because I feel like if I call it the group of life, I'm gonna have the same effect that Billy has, where I'm just not gonna make it out of the playoffs or like make it out of the group stage. So
Um,
yeah. I mean, from the rookies I've talked to, one of the people I talked to the most, Jacob Castilla Chandelures, did send me a little snippet on his VGC experience. He does not have any experience playing, but he has watched a lot and has played a lot of Nuzlocke, so he knows a lot when it does come to Pokemon. And he's been putting a lot of work into his draft. So maybe one consideration to take into what we do know about the rookies.
I'm just gonna say about this group, Sage, if you don't make playoffs, it might be a time to retire.
oh my god,
Wow.
damn.
All right,
Um,
you want to talk about red, or you have more on gold, Thunder?
no, that's about it. Nothing more.
I think red is probably the hardest group to rate. I think it has the most new people, and of the old PDL people, it's got Strict, who was a rookie last season. So it's like I think he had a pretty mid regular season. I think it was like a 4-3 record, albeit in a hard group, and then had a crazy good playoff run. So it's like,
Yeah, to the finals.
did he just lock in for playoffs? Was it a fluke, or is he? I think this
Yeah.
is the season where he can kind of prove he's a strong contender going forward.
He had a very similar what's it called season as I had in season 2 where I don't think I came fourth seed. I think I came second seed, I believe, on my first season in season 2 and got all the way to the finals just to lose to Easton. It's the same as Direct, I guess, lost to who did he lose to again?
Gamagate.
Yeah, Gamagate, yeah.
Then
So
the other returning people in red group, you've got J Money, who had one season where he was phenomenal and one season where he got 0 wins. Scrafty Knight, who hasn't played since Season 2, albeit was my dark horse of Season 2 to win the whole league, and Kurido, who, yeah, Kurido usually drafts very well and kind of just stumbles his way through actually playing the games, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it just depends on how locked in he is. I mean, last season we pretty much unanimously had him as the best draft of the season, and then just I think lost a little bit of passion for his team.
I
I
mean, yeah,
think he
it's
sounds like he's really locked in this season. So if I had to predict people getting out of this group, it'd be Kurido.
Kurido's my first seed getting out of this group. He has
Yeah.
Yeah,
been
Kurido is also my first seed.
incessantly in my DMs running draft ideas off of him, off of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's just overall like consistent player. I think like usually with his drafts, he usually plays consistent. I guess except for last season, it was not the best. But I have him topping this group alongside Strict being second. I would say.
I don't know, man. I have a feeling one of the new people in this group are gonna show up. I haven't really
Yeah?
I'm there with you.
talked to like Nightcell or Dibsy or Fortress at all, or even really Major, but
Yeah.
I just got a feeling that this is the group where like the new people are gonna take over.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm not. I also obviously not familiar with anyone in the group, but anything can happen, right? People can throw, people can clutch a series, so you never know what happens.
Do you guys want to go through each group here and just kind of, you know, take your 4 you think are making it out of the group? I think that'd be a fun thing to
Sure,
do.
sure.
See who
Sure.
gets it
Okay.
right.
All right, red group. I'm only gonna say Kurido. Kurido makes it
Give
out.
us 4. Give us
All right,
4.
I'm gonna
4
go.
for each.
I'm gonna go Kurido, Eden Major, Strict, and J Money as my. I'm gonna go Eden Major, Kurido, Strict, and I'll go Fortress.
Okay. Thunder.
Give me a second. I'm pulling up
Okay.
Notepad to write these down.
Okay,
Okay.
sure. We gotta record these, yeah,
Yeah.
for the end of the season.
We'll have some
So
wager
Yeah.
on this.
so I probably would have. I said like obviously Strict and Credo I think are going through, and I'll probably have also J Money, and I'll take Edie and Major.
I'll take Kurido and Strict for sure. Um, I'm gonna go Scrap tonight. I didn't have any experience playing with him, but it sounds like he was a pretty good player from season 2. And I will go. Give me a dark horse. Give me Dibsy.
Uh,
Okay.
you had Kurido, Strict, Scrafty, and Dibsy.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Blue group. So we just gotta pick the bottom 2, right? Because we're all gonna say me and Gamagate.
Oh,
Probably.
okay.
All right. I'm putting myself and Gamagate as 1-2. Order doesn't matter. I
Yeah.
usually beat him regular season, and then he beats me in playoffs.
Can none of us put water? Because it'd be really funny.
See, I feel like I'm obligated to put Water fourth to continue his streak.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
So I'm gonna go me, Gamagate, and then I'm gonna go Sharky and Water.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'll obviously have McFeeds and Gamgate, obviously, and as my third and fourth slots, I'm going to have Kiora, and I'm gonna have Water as the fourth slot as well. Not in order, obviously. I don't know. Maybe Water will go over Kiora, but those 4 in general.
I think I got McFeeds and Gamagate in order, and then I'll go Water because I'm gonna be his prep partner, and it's a reflection on me if he does well. And and is this the season Chiang locks in, or is he gonna draft Parrish again? That's where I'm at with this.
I will say I have some inside info that he is not planning on drafting Parrish, but that was like several weeks ago, so things may have
Okay.
changed.
And yeah, last I heard he was like, "Man, do I just go Parrish again?" Uh, mm, yeah, give me Chong at my 4. I said I got
Dang,
Chung at my 4.
all old heads. You don't believe in any of the new people in this group.
I wanted to put Sharky, but I gotta put some respect on Chung. He predicted Raging Bolt as the kill leader last season for me, and it became true. So
All
True.
right, gold I think is another one that I'm gonna struggle to figure out. So I'm gonna do my obvious ones. I'm gonna do Chris number 1 because Thunder loses to him for some reason. Thunder number
Hey, I'm
2.
1-on-1 against them.
Thunder
What?
Thunder number 2. Um, I'm gonna go with Fenbach purely off of logo, and then Sage number 4. I have had 0 conversations with Fenbach about like draft prep or anything, so I have no clue how experienced they are or what they're thinking like idea wise. But they do have my favorite team name and logo this season. The Little Scissors Pizza is
it's
so
definitely a
good.
top tier logo.
Yeah. All right, Thunder,
Okay,
what are
okay.
you thinking? Obviously,
So
you're not making playoffs in your own prediction, right?
yeah, so I'll have like myself and Chris not in order. And then I'll have Sage, and I'm gonna take Jacob. I like their team
I was
name,
I was
Castelia Chandelures.
I was between Jacob and Fenbach, but I kind of figured Billy would pick Jacob, so I wanted to be a little contrarian.
Yeah, I'm a pretty big fan of the Castelia Chandelures. I like the name. I like it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, and it doesn't help that Chandelure is like my favorite Pokemon. Uh, I gotta go Chris Thunder, Sage, Jacob.
Oh, see, both having a second seed. I see. Okay, okay.
All right, Silver
Oh,
Group.
oh, this one.
I think this is the crazy group. I think
Yeah.
anybody can make it out of here. I think I'm probably gonna do the most like basic bitch opportunity, and I'm gonna say Coco, Easton, Koopa, Fire Mana.
Ooh,
Okay,
I actually have a
okay.
different take on this one.
I'm gonna definitely have Coco and Easton, and I'm gonna have Koopa, and I'm gonna take probably Feeny as well.
I think I think first 3 Coco, Easton, Koopa are like locked in for me 100%. I was between
Yeah,
Fire Mana, Feeny, and Samuel May as my last one.
gotcha. I probably would have Easton, Koopa, sorry, Easton, Cocoa Puffs, and then Koopa and Feeny would be my order.
All right. What do you got for your making out of
I'm
this group, Billy?
I'm going Coco, Easton. I'm in between Koopa Fireman and Feeny for this slot. Actually, I'm gonna go Coco Easton, Samuel Bay, Koopa.
Okay. So we all believe Koopa can bring it back after some pretty mediocre last couple seasons.
Yeah,
The
I
champion.
think obviously yeah, PDL first Build X champion, and I think when he has a good draft, I think he generally plays pretty well Pokemon, pretty good battler. So I could see him definitely having a really good season this time around. You know, he had
Yeah,
that one game. What's the game? The insane predictions. Read somebody in last season like a
I
book.
don't remember who it was against, but it was really good.
Yeah,
I think if he's able to do his own draft this season, he'll do a lot better than he has in the past couple. 'Cause I know
Yeah,
mhm.
he did get kind of hinted in the draft.
yeah. All right. Very last thing before we wrap up. Do you guys have any kind of just generic advice you want to give to new people? If you want to think about it for a bit, I can start. Um,
Um,
I
Yeah.
think I've got 2 kind of different directions of advice I want to give people. And
okay.
my first one is if you come from a different Pokemon background, like you've played a lot of Nuzlocke, you've played a lot of singles, even if you played a lot of ladder VGC, is to be open and don't necessarily just go onto Smogon, see that Landorus, Therian, and I don't even know what's good in singles anymore.
hmm
Landorus, Therian, and Iron Bundle are the 2 best Pokemon in existence, and slam them on a draft. Because draft is a very weird format, and it values flexibility over raw power. I'd say probably the majority of the time. Not that there aren't Pokemon that can just muscle their way through things, but it's like we were saying with our first round picks, that like Iron Valiant is a terrifying threat in draft because of how flexible it is, even though I don't think you see it at all in competitive UGC.
Yeah. I have two things I would say for some advice. Number one, I think when you're drafting, in my opinion, I think what makes a great draft is being very flexible. That way, when you're prepping every week, you have multiple ways to play, multiple ways to like beat other different teams. You obviously still want to have like a pretty like good core, but I think the more options you have, the better opportunities you have in your preparations in the weekly battles. And then my second advice would be is just come join the Discord, talk to the old heads, ask them what they think every week about like certain things. They have like a lot of experience,
Oh,
and you will probably pick up.
if you're not in my division and you don't play, I think really just water at this point, because he preps with the three of us a lot.
Mhm.
I like if you don't play one of us, I will help you like full prep, everything. I'll run mocks with you, whatever you need.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Like just go talk to people. Obviously, like maybe some people won't because like you're in the same group, but like yeah, try to find somebody you can talk to because a lot of us have a lot of experience. We've been playing for a while, so you definitely pick up a thing or two from the experienced people, or like even watching like all the battles weekly. You'll like definitely pick up something.
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys covered it with the flexibility. I think just specifically, if you guys want some advice for that, a couple things to look at. Type chart. Make sure you're not stacked on 12 rock weaknesses. I know you might think they're not real and they can't hurt you. Fun
That
fact, Ogre Pawns are going to be on at least 4 teams in your division. So there will be. Oh, actually,
yeah, you don't have to worry
yeah,
about
no, they have Stone
Quarterstone.
Edge, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
why am I
yeah,
thinking Ivy
yeah,
Cudgel's always rock? I'm just thinking about
yeah,
Cornerstone. There will be at least one Ogre Pond that can
And,
hurt you.
and one Tyranitar and one Stack Attacker.
yep,
And that's
yep.
true. But yeah, no, just try to make sure you're not stacking too many weaknesses. Speed tiers, try to make sure you have a variety of things of different speeds so you can be flexible that way. And then just move pool. Try to make sure you have some good support moves, good attacking moves on both the physical and special side. And really, if you have that, you're gonna at least be able to compete every week.
Side note on the rock weakness: if you have too many rock weaknesses, you may get a DM from the commissioner sending you a rock GIF.
Yep.
um, I will say all the things Billy was just talking about. It's really easy to see those holes or plan those drafts with the team builder document that's pinned in the PDL info chat. Um, yeah, highly recommend using that resource. I think all three of us use it to plan our drafts. You guys really like to use it to prep during the season as well.
Yep, the
Um,
matchup center is my favorite thing. Just has everything you want there. So you have your speed tiers, abilities, potential moves Pokemon have. I will say, be careful on the move thing because some Pokemon are showing like they don't have a move. For example, like for Meowstic male, it does not show for some reason that it has Fake Out, but it does have Fake Out. So like make sure you double check on the moves because sometimes it's incorrect.
I think it's
Yeah, they
something
don't
with
have that deck moves.
yeah, I think it's something with different form Pokemon because it's the same with an Amorous versus an Amorous Therian.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
my last piece of advice, which is kind of going to be the exact opposite of what I said from the beginning and what Thunder was saying about flexibility, is if you are brand new to this, you've never played in a draft league, you're not super confident about what to pick, I highly recommend picking a lane early and building your draft around it. I don't mean taking Pelipper and drafting every Swiftsum Pokemon in existence, but I do think that it is a lot easier to say, hey, I'm drafting Pelipper, I'm going to have a rain mode, and that's going to be my primary mode, and then it's easier to pad out the weaknesses and strengths of that draft than it is to be like, I took an Ogerpon and I took a Namorous. Now, where the hell do I go from here?
yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
So I think you're looking,
Uh,
if you're new, look into weather, look into Trick Room, look into hard Tailwind teams, and look into terrain teams.
yeah. I would say for sure just like build your primary core Pokemon. They're gonna be like you're gonna be like your primary mode, like Tailwind in your Trick Room, and then you can have like side modes on top of that, or like other like Pokemon that are like flexible can like like offer like other opportunities for your like Pokemon that you don't have on your
Yeah.
primary team, like your primary core.
For the rain example, like my recommendation would be you draft, 3 rain Pokemon. So you take Pelipper, you take Basculegion, and you take Archaludon. Those are your first 3 picks, or 3 of your first 5 picks. And the remaining Pokemon, just pad it out with things that fix those weaknesses or are just generically good to play outside of rain. So then you have rain mode as your primary, draft and WinCon and what you want to play around, and you have other Pokemon that can also function outside of rain.
You just listed a team comp full of 3 Pokemon from our frauds slide.
I mean, I could have said Torkoal, Walking Wake, and Lilligant.
Yeah. Same idea.
Yeah. I just think I think it is a lot easier as a new person to be like, okay, this is my lane, I'm sticking with it, and it makes it easier to draft because you're not going to be as contested as hard. If you slam
Yeah,
Pelipper, people are going to be like, ooh, I don't want to take Basculegion because this guy's going to snag it.
yeah.
Well, I think that's all. Thank you too for being here for the first inaugural episode. If you've made it this far, listening to us yap for like an hour and a half, appreciate it. Um, I'm at least gonna plan on doing some more of these, or at least some recorded match reviews that are kind of gonna be a video essay podcast format, and hopefully we'll keep pumping these out. If anybody out there wants to do their own episode or be on an episode, let me know and we can work something out.
Yeah.
I'm sure at some point we'll do the draft review too. Of
Oh,
everyone's
oh, that
teams.
that's
Oh yeah,
100%.
Thoughts.
100%
that's
next episode
coming.
is draft rankings. It's
Yeah,
after that.
yeah.
It's after that during the season what this content kind of turns into.
Yeah, I'll have some content in there too. I have some power rankings I'm doing with water. We're gonna be getting those cooked up very soon, and I'll also have another content piece called McBuster's Minute. Take a look at that when week 1 comes around.
All right. Well, thank you everybody. We'll see you on the next episode.